What were they thinking to put laminate in the bedroom, right? So the next one is when we start focusing on net worth. And this is if you target the high net worth individuals where you really want to look at. But they're very, very, very different. In fact, if you have $1 million to $5 million, you don't feel rich. You really feel this is just upper middle class today. There's about 15 million households in the US. These are perfect for you because one piece to remember is that they can all afford any one thing they want. They can't afford everything they want, but any one thing is theirs if you sell it and communicate your DNA in the proper way. You get up to 6 million, that's when the money's pretty good. It's when they start buying second homes, they start buying boats, they start living a life of affluence. And then you have those who are 30 million and above. This is about as high as we can go with research today. But this is when you start flying private. This is when you start having multiple homes. This is when you start living a different type of life. I'm blessed to have some people in my family like this. I met with them a couple weeks ago in Cabo, and I was complaining about parking at Palm Beach International Airport. And because you park in the lower 30, right, if you're gone a week. Well, in this case, I asked them, where did you park? And they said, well, we parked in short-term parking. I said, isn't that expensive? They said, what's an extra $30 a day when your hotel room is $1,500? See, it's just different. And we worry about, these pennies, but they're not really. They just see the world differently. We talk a lot about this because conspicuous consumers tend to be out there. They're conspicuous. They like to be, they want to show their wealth out. Just some clues. Most of them are not that way. In fact, we'll see a data point in a few minutes. Only about 15%. They don't flaunt their wealth. They're dual citizens. Security is everything to them. So is privacy, being discreet. They collect something because, heck, they have to spend their money on something. They have personal assistants. I'm a member of the Private Service Alliance. Anybody here a member of the Private Service Alliance? It's a great way to know the estate managers in your market. And most estate managers, like those who own jets, start about a $90 million net worth. So these are good clients. It's Private Service Alliance. Look it up. There's a great article in Wall Street Journal a couple weeks ago, The Secret Retreats of the Wealthy. See, they don't really want to be around us. They hang out with those of their ilk. And so when you're selling, the lesson for us is that they want to know, if they're going to buy from you, that you serve others of their ilk. So think about all the touch points you have in your store. And does it look like I'm serving high net worth individuals? Just a quick summary here. The average household net worth is $1,059,000 in the United States. It's a big number. The median is $192,000. But there's wealth everywhere. And each one of the things we're going to talk about today, you can take home. And even if you're a mass marketer, you can use these tips and tools. Okay, we're going to play Survivor. If you would turn it up, everybody stand up. We're going to ask questions. And at the end of the day, we're going to see, could you turn that up a little bit louder? We're playing Survivor. Come on. Stand up, everybody. Stand up. I'm going to ask a question. And if you get it right, you stay on the island. If you miss, you're off the island. You ready? What percent of ultra-high net worth individuals plan on purchasing a residential property this year? Now think about that for a minute. They're going to buy a home, and wouldn't you like to know who they are? So how many of you think it's 7.5%? Raise your hand if you think 7.5% of all ultra-high net worth. This comes to us, by the way, from Knight Frank. Nobody. You're right. 9.8%. How many of you think it's 9.8%? Can you imagine if 10% of your average people you advertise to were going to buy a home? Pretty big number. Anybody? 9.8? I've got lights in my eyes, so I can't see everybody. Anybody? Nobody. It's the smartest group I've ever had. I'll get you now, though. How many of you think it's 12.5% of all ultra-high net worth individuals are going to buy a residence this year? Thank you. Thank you. Okay, thank you. You're okay. Anybody else? We got two. We got two, three. That's great. Sit down. It's not it. But it's a good try. So it's either 12.5 or 22%. How many of you think it's 22%? Get your hand up, because if your hand's not up, sit down. Now, think about that. Go and sit down. We know who you are. Think about that. 22% of a population is going to buy a home this year. Why wouldn't you target that? That's an amazing data point. Let's talk about some commonalities amongst the affluent. You know what? They are like us. This is Maslow's. They're human. They're like us. They have the same insecurities. This is from Premium Knowledge Group. 15% of the affluent are conspicuous consumers. The others are not. They hide. And you have to be discreet and private also. See, there's this wealth continuum. New money is conspicuous. Old money hides it. They're discreet. They really don't care if you know if they're rich or not. And they behave that way. So being discreet and private is extraordinarily important for them. Anybody here a Clotaire Rapaille fan? I mean, he is my man. A brilliant gentleman. He's written a book called The Global Code. If you have an opportunity to read it, it's brilliant. He assigns a code to different products, different brands. The code for luxury globally is hand. It means it's handmade. The global code for America, luxury, is civilian stripes, which means status. Americans buy brands because of status. Denis Diderot, French philosopher in the Age of Enlightenment. He was given a red robe when he was a student. And he's so delighted in his red robe, everything he bought from thereafter, he wanted to be of that quality. Now, he was a very successful philosopher. If you look him up, he started the first encyclopedia. A brilliant gentleman, ended up bankrupt because he kept spending money on stuff. This is known as the Diderot effect. If you can't stop buying, it's the Diderot effect. Now, we're going to couple that with what's known as mimetic desire, that humans have an innate desire to be aligned with a group. Now, what does this mean? It means they're consumers. And it's more than you just selling a product. It's creating desire for your brand in such a way that they can't imagine doing business with anybody else but you. And that's the basic platform for luxury business model.
All right, who knows a tune here? Who wants to sing a tune? Who's got a song?
I got one.
You got one. Neil Page has got one.
3 coins in a fountain, each one seeking happiness. You know this, seeking happiness. Thrown by 3 hopeful lovers. No.
Flintstones, meet the Flintstones.
Yeah, see, there's a difference in people. And the affluent like to be with the affluent. Recent research from Chandler Mount's group tells us that the number one piece in importance in going to a hotel is nice guests. Now, it's hard to believe that anybody would even think about that, but that's what the affluent are looking at because they want to be with others of their ilk. So they go to the Ritz-Carlton, they go to the Four Seasons, they go to hotel brands where they know others like them go. And each of you have an opportunity with your brand to be the place where other high net worth individuals buy their product. Because this is all optics. It's all what I think about things. See, luxury doesn't mean selling expensive product. I gave luxury means marketing brand desire. I gave a keynote last week for Douglas Elliman. Anybody here a Douglas Elliman fan? I keynoted their Naples event. And if you've been to Naples, it's really kind of a wild place because a lot of wealth, okay? A lot of older, wealthy individuals. And you can tell the widows because they're driving a Bentley. In fact, Naples is the #1 Bentley store in the country, Naples, Florida. And you see it. I call them the widowers, right? And they drive a Bentley. Why? Because it's a Bentley. But if it were about money, they could really look sexy driving a buck truck because they're $999,000. But they don't. Because one is cool and one is not. Forget the price. So don't think about price all the time. It's something else. You have to communicate that you are akin to their values. So I want you to, if you want this audience, adopt a luxury marketing strategy that's not about specific products. It's about desire for your brand. It's about ubiquity, so that everywhere you turn, your brand is there, and it's consistent with how they see the world. Hermes, by the way, same with Vuitton, most of their brands spend 15 to 18% of rev on marketing, because that's what luxury marketers do. And that's how they build a brand. You can't do it at 4 or 5%. It's just not enough. So you plant seeds. Everywhere you look, you see your brand. And Hermes, Vuitton, the wealthiest person in Europe doing that. You can too. You can do it also. See, desire for your brand and cachet is driven through frequency. Their brands that started in the 50s and 60s and 70s that were out there used magazines because everybody used magazines. Magazines are not nearly as effective as they used to be because they're just not out there. So the first piece is we have to create awareness. We'll worry about status and desire in a second, but they've created status. They want you to have status. You do that by keeping your foot on the pedal. Never stop marketing. You know these individuals, I don't have to tell you. Why? Because they're on so much, you know them by heart. Whether you like them or not is another thing, but they're there, and it's been working for years for these brands. See, in any business, you can be a commodity like everybody else, and that's mimetics that we talked about, or you can own your own DNA. And luxury brands have a DNA, a je ne sais quoi, that's so different from anybody else that people can't imagine doing business with you. Now, if you went to buy a purse, I used to say women if you bought a purse, but I don't say that anymore. If you went to buy a purse and you wanted a Hermes purse, would you settle for Coach? I don't think so, because you've already decided the brand. And it's like that for many things. That's why car dealers all stick together, because a Ford person doesn't drive a Chevy. So instilling your DNA is essential to your brand to serve high net worth individuals. I want you to create a very strong brand identity. You do that, of course, with frequency, and it's about a unique point of view that you have. And it's not that hard to do. I know sometimes it's hard to think through that, but remember, all of marketing is about perceptions. Anybody recognize this mattress? Nobody. Take a guess what you think it costs. King size mattress. Yell it out. How much? $2,800? Good guess. Anybody else? 10,000. 2,801. $2,999. Actually, it's more than that. And your customers are buying this mattress every day. They just had John Hamm do 20 interviews about it, how comfortable it is. Well, it's $670,000 for a mattress. And you think, that's nuts. But if you invest your marketing dollars, it's not. Remember I said earlier, your clients can afford any one thing, they can't afford everything? Those of us in flooring and stone and tile are not getting our share of the dollars. I have the clients in Dallas, Tampa, San Jose, Chicago, Detroit are all my clients. I mean, there's a system to this, but it works. Now, you can slum it and buy a $80,000 Hastings too. But it's there. The dollars are there if you create the desire. Roll does a pretty good job of it. It's not Roll, it's the House of Roll. Tiffany doesn't sell any objects, they sell love. And love's very easy to value because we all want to be in love. So what do you really sell? Think about that. Make that part of your DNA and rethink all the ways you market. Love this Frank Sinatra. If you've got it, you stand out by a mile. And you will. Okay, who's still on the island? Let's stand up. If you're still on the island. Okay, second question. What's the net worth necessary to be in the top 1% in the United States? How much do you have to have net worth to be in the top 1%? How many of you think it's $12,883,000? Raise your hand if you think we're number one in the world. No hands. You're correct. It's Monaco's number one. How many of you believe it's $10,832,000 net worth to be in the top 1%? Do I see a hand? No hand. Okay, thank you very much. You're wrong, but thank you. Go and sit down. That happens to be Luxembourg. $8,500,000. Do I have a hand on this one? Switzerland. Please sit down. $5,813,000. Raise your hand. Okay, got a couple. Okay, if your hand's not up, sit down, because that's what it is. Okay, so keep your hands up. We're going to winnow this down now. Okay, thank you very much. By the way, $1,074,000 is China. Don't have to have that kind of wealth. You're on the island. We know who you are. Go and sit down. We'll play another game in a moment. One of my rules is brands that leverage the luxury business model compete with no one. And that's really important because once you've created desire for your brand, you can compete with no one. This is you can't see this. Do we have any designers here today? I created this for the design industry. This is design versus luxury. And essentially, luxury is exclusive, design is inclusive. This is on my website, preciseluxurymarketing.com, but you go through it and say, my gosh, it makes such perfect sense. When I wrote this, I thought for sure I was going to get heck from the entire design industry. I've yet to have anybody say, that's way off base, Chris. It's not, because ultimately you build brand desire and you compete with no one. You can't penetrate the affluent market without being an aggressive marketer. Why? Because we're just not that important. We're not a passion product. We're not like Tiffany. We're not jewelry. We're not cars. They buy it when they need it. So for better or worse, we have to keep our brand in front of them so that we become that household brand. My Pillow has done that effectively, like it or not, but he's done it effectively. He knows whose audience is, and it works. Classic luxury marketing strategy is essentially that. Increase your margins to compensate for marketing, and then raise your margins some more, because they'll keep coming, because you've done such a good job with your marketing and creating desire for your brand. Anybody here from Pittsburgh by chance? Nobody. Okay, I was raised in Pittsburgh, middle-class kid, and you are. What part of Pittsburgh? Ah, okay. Philadelphia. Oh, okay. Philadelphia. It's got to be sad coming from a city with no professional sports. Anyway, Cott was a very famous brand when I was growing up. Their philosophy was, we won't advertise. We'll let Coke and Pepsi do that. We'll just slide behind them and be lower priced. What happened? Cott went away because they didn't advertise. Anybody even hear of Cott anymore? Well, the truth is, they're still around. You know them as Sam's Cola. Now, who do you think makes more money? Coca-Cola, Pepsi-Cola, or Sam's Cola? Pretty sure it's not Sam's. The difference is marketing. Research tells us that nobody can tell the taste difference. It's marketing. So Ramey Rule 55 is anonymity is bad strategy. People have to know you. People have to recognize your brand. Somewhere in the back, they say, I've heard of that brand. I talk with a lot of designers and some retailers, and they tell me they get all their business from referrals. And yet, when someone tells me that, I automatically think that's the dumbest thing you can ever say. Because it means either you don't know how to market or you've allowed the most important part of your business to be taken over by somebody else say something nice? That doesn't make any sense. Can you imagine starting a job at Procter & Gamble and your first job is this new product that's coming out? They say, what are you going to do with your marketing? And you say, you know, boss, I got a better idea. Let's let people refer us. I don't think so. You'd be out immediately.
Thank you. The new phone book's here! The new phone book's here!
Well, I wish I could get that excited about buck.
Nothing! Are you kidding? Page 73! Johnson! Naven! R! I'm somebody now! Millions of people look at this book every day! This is the kind of spontaneous publicity, your name in print, that makes people! I'm in print! Things are going to start happening to me now.
No, they're not. They aren't. It's that way with almost anything where people have to find you. It doesn't work. We've learned that. Unfortunately, we get fooled because of our cognitive bias. Now, what does that mean? See, our brand awareness is lower than we think because everyone we know knows us, but we don't know everyone. And we make these assumptions that just aren't, don't pass the sniff test. So the first job for most of us in this category is brand awareness. And of course, part of that is status and cachet. So the problem is your local people make it a trap because we listen to those who know us. How many of you have a magazine in your market? If you're in a major market, you certainly do. That's a home publication that has zero distribution. They just drop it off at the front door of all the advertisers. What's that about? If somebody won't pay for it, how effective and good can it be? And yet we see that in most major markets. And in many cases, designers live and die for that. But it doesn't last long. One of my clients, end of last year, got a full-page global edition of Wall Street Journal. Big, really big. A week later, it was no longer even a blip on her Google Analytics. People forget. And even when the week right after it happened, no more than 400 extra visitors a day. People don't remember. They don't know. We think they do because we live and die this business. Consumers don't. So you go and you network, and everybody knows us, and we feel good. The problem is it's blah, blah, blah. Everybody says the same thing because they haven't promoted their DNA. When everything is blah, 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 it all sounds the same. Service, blah, blah, blah. Years in business, blah, blah, blah. This is why finding your DNA and creating something that's unique, that's specific to you, can drive your business. Keith Richards is famous for this. You've got the moon, the sun and the moon, and you've got the Rolling Stones. And it was the name of their book. But I'm sorry, Keith. There's a lot more. And there's a lot more out there for us, too. Far beyond our own orbit. So with marketing, we have to grow beyond our market. And this is particularly so with the affluent. Because they have a life, they don't follow us. It's not a passion product. We've got to be out there so that if you're working with a designer, the client wants you. So that you don't have someone else saying what it is. You got to build it. If Vuitton, Coke, Chanel, Bentley, keep going, have to advertise, then you do too. You can't stop. You have to keep your foot on the pedal, and you have to continue to grow. I have a granddaughter I love very, very much. She lives in San Francisco. Anybody here from San Francisco? No. Anyway, but she lives in the city in San Francisco, a beautiful, beautiful home, small backyard. She goes to the playground. She comes back, and she said, I love the outdoors. I wish it was bigger. Because she doesn't know. She just doesn't know how big it is. And we don't know how big our market is until we start penetrating it. And you do that by marketing. Luxury brands plant seeds. I say this at night in my sleep. And how do they do it? Well, they use digital. You name the brand, this is how they're doing it. Everybody's doing digital. Ferretti Yacht, Chanel, Tiffany, Bentley, Maserati, Van Cleef, Hermes, and even local compass dealers. Because it's measurable, you can target your exact clients, and you get results. You watch them walk in your door, and you have measurable results to prove that they were there. It's where the world is going today. And with luxury marketing, you will create this desire that they can't stop because you are top of mind. So take your red shoes, keep your foot on the pedal, and never stop. This is how Noel Kapfer read the book Luxury Strategy. If you want to read a great book about luxury, it's the Bible. The luxury strategy aims at creating the highest brand value and pricing power by leveraging all intangible elements of singularity. What are those? This is it. If you want to take a picture of something, this is what it is. This is the basis for being successful in the luxury space. Like I said, I'll give you a copy of the presentation. But this is the key to it. Leveraging each of these, finding it as part of your DNA, and then never letting go. Keep driving it home. Because desire for your brand doesn't come from 1 or 2 or 3 hits. We find it's 20 hits per person each month. That's when you start penetrating your market. Okay, we're on. By the way, everybody who's still on the island? Now, I got to tell you a little story about Peak Island. The brains behind, whoopsie, went too far. The brains behind the show is a woman named Michelle Peak. And she's in the back of the room right now. She just walked in. Michelle, would you just raise your hand? And this is where we are on Peak Island. So, Michelle, thank you. No sound. What percent of Americans will be in the top 1% of all income distribution one time in their life? The answer's easier when I give it away. How many of you think it's 12%? You're correct. That's good. That's good. But think about that. 12%. Go and sit down. It didn't work properly, but I apologize. Just to think about that. You know, we talk about the top 1 or 2 or 8, but really it's 12% are going to some year in their life have that equity moment when they can afford anything you sell. So start early, and they won't do business with anybody else but you. Never before in the history of mankind has wealth been so broadly distributed. I know that's not the popular mantra in the press, but it's true. It's a wonderful time to be alive and a wonderful time to be in your business. Now, what is luxury? Luxury is different for each person. And so we have to think differently about what it is. If you ever use the term luxury in the wrong place, you'll look bad. Now, I flew in on a Learjet. I'm from South Florida. Would you say that's luxury? Anybody? Yeah, not bad, right? Fly private. Except I grew up in an aviation family, and my father was chief pilot, and we weren't allowed to get in a Learjet because he said it was too dangerous. So he flew a Falcon because one was dangerous, the next one was luxury. Now, you might think, well, that's luxury, being in a Falcon, but if you own a 747, luxury is nothing. So each of us have a different idea of what luxury is. So if you're talking to the person that owns a 747 and mention the Falcon as being luxury, he would say, it's not luxury, it's nothing, it's just a business jet. So that's why you have to be so careful, and you want to stop using the term luxury. Because you might find yourself demeaning your own value as to what luxury is, because it's based on what they think. Remy Rule 43, You don't sell to the affluent, you fascinate them. Everybody sells them. Everybody wants to sell them. If you fascinate them with what you do and with your DNA, that's how you pull them in. Middle class, you hard sell. The luxury, you fascinate. Because when you fascinate, they want to know more. So it's a different way of selling. And you don't sell them really, they choose to buy from you. And that's also very different. Look at the different websites, Fedship, Home Trust, it's my company. This is Mila Luxury Collective. Anybody familiar with this? Tell me, what do you think when you read the copy? Who are they targeting? Most design groups show lots and lots of pictures. In this case, we don't even show a design picture. We show the backyard because it's reflective of having an extraordinary home. So what best reflects you may not be the product you sell, because they already have their other ideas on that. And that's what your competition does. You're above that. Of course, Chevrolet does it differently, don't they? That's hard sell. It's not what you do in the luxury space. See, the affluent aren't buying what you think you're selling. If you want to sell high net worth individuals, you sell them on your values. Your showroom has to reflect that. Are you in the right part of town? Are you editing your showroom? See, in middle class, they're buddies. They're buying a product, right? But wealth, it's experiential. What did I feel about my experience there? Did I like them? Did it make me feel good? Did it tell me that they're used to serving others? How many of you serve water in your store when somebody wants water? Yeah, it's great. But I want you to go one better. One's got to be a brand people know. And two, instead of saying, would you like a water, say flat or sparkling, because that's how they think. And give them the choice. Find ways to one-up everything you do with every single point. I shared I was in, I almost said Cuba, Cabo earlier this month. And every meal had an amuse-bouche. It was something you didn't order, something that was just excited you about the meal. It's always done with a flair because it's a surprise. But you can do that in your showroom too. In fact, it's easy in your showroom. You just have to find ways and things they didn't expect. Anybody know what this is? It's a dispensary. They sell dope there. So if a store that's selling dope can have a chandelier and coffered ceilings, why can't you? Sculptures, artwork, any passion product, could be a car, architectural detail. These are the little things that separate you, that make your customers like who you are, because they'll see those differences. They're going to reinforce that you serve others of their ilk, which then transfers down to the products you sell. And that's really what merchandising is about too. Editing how many products you sell. If you go to a Vuitton store, how many bags do they show? Less than 30 maybe? If you go to TJ Maxx, how many do they show? More than 1,000 maybe? So you edit for your best affluent prospects because time is currency, and they'll appreciate that, particularly once you've convinced them that you serve others of their ilk, because you're telling them what's hot. Edited, same with restaurants, by the way. You go to an extraordinary restaurant, and they have very little on the menu. You go to Morrison's or a buffet, they've got everything. But they don't want everything. They want what's right for them. You edit it. That's part of your DNA. It's part of who you are. And you're saving them time. The interesting piece about this is research continuously tells us the more you show, the less they buy. So Barry Schwartz, who wrote the book, this is from Shopify. You show 28 products, you get a 4% commission. 4% conversion, excuse me. You show 6, and you get a 31% conversion. So you think you need to show everything? No, you don't. In fact, cut, edit, edit, edit. That's how you'll succeed in the luxury space. That's the paradox of choice. And you need to manage it because most people in your business don't. I walk into stone and tile stores pretty routinely. Everything in the world, I don't know where to start. If you're in the soft floor coverings, my little joke that I play with myself is I count how many hardwood displays they have because, gosh, hardwood's brown and you only need so much brown. Edit. They don't want to think you're selling this because it has a spiff because you have others. Don't clutter their mind with that. Your showroom should be attractive, consistent with other luxury brands. It should enchant people. It should reinforce that you serve others of their ilk. Your employees should look the same way. In other words, jeans are probably inappropriate. The dumbing down of America is so profound today. If they walk into your showroom and see you still have standards, that alone will help them like you. Again, you're serving them like you serve others of their ilk. Does price matter? That's always a big question, right? They have the money. They don't know what things should cost. But if you've built desire, you will be successful. Pam Danziger puts it this way: consumers want to pay more because they assume it's a better product. So when you discount something, you're automatically saying, not as good. I can discount it. Not good. See, high price is an asset. So when someone says your price is high, oh no, because you don't understand what we've done. You can get any margin you want. So how to reach high net worth individuals? No one can buy anything from you if they don't know you exist. You need to inundate them with your brand. Your brand. Now you can show different products, but they need to see you. You need to become part of their life, even though they don't need you, because the moment they do, they will automatically think of you. Let's talk about magazines for a moment. No, let's not. Magazines aren't going away, but they're sure not doing well. And so you want to be very judicious. What we suggest to our clients is that there are opportunistic buys in major publications that can be successful, or have been for our clients. So for example, Architectural Digest, you can buy, here it is. You can buy in your own market, full page, and you see what the prices are. We buy remnants, $1,670. So that's not a crazy number, right? It beats being in a local yokel publication at $3,500. Vogue, you can buy on a local basis, and you can buy remnants. Other Condé Nast titles, you can buy remnants that are not very expensive. Let me know, and I'm happy to share how to do that. Four Seasons magazines. High net worth individuals stay at Four Seasons. You can buy a page in Four Seasons by the hotel. So often if there's two hotels in the same market, you'll capture them both. So you can, it depends upon the hotel, but $3,000, $4,000 for a full page, but it lasts a year. And every person who stays at the Four Seasons will see it, as well as those who have a Four Seasons residence. So that's an opportunistic buy because it's local. Same thing with Town and Country. Town and Country is a magazine for high net worth individuals, and you can buy it on a local basis. There's Four Seasons, there's Town and Country. The whole purpose of advertising is to drive new prospects into the sales funnel, right? That's what we do. That's why we advertise. And then at the bottom is where the customers come out, but it's also where social media is because those are your followers. Unfortunately, most of the followers are family and friends. And so we get confused as to likes, and we think that that makes it more effective. But those are the ones that you know. That's why advertising and new people down the funnel are so important. I'm not going to diss on social media, but research that we've co-sponsored with Luxury Roundtable and Unity Marketing consistently tells us ad agencies all say it works, and the companies themselves say it doesn't work. Harvard put it this way: what's the value of a like? Not a lot. Not a lot, unfortunately, because somewhere along the lines, you need to drive revenue. So what do? They change the narrative. I have a client out in California who was convinced, and she was spending a huge amount of money, over $1,500 a month for a couple hundred likes. But she was competing with another designer. Well, that was kind of silly because she wasn't getting leads. You need leads. I'm not saying you can't do it. A good social media person can. I just haven't met them yet. This is the family. This is a quote from the luxury Unity Marketing's research. Social media is a business development tool will go down as the biggest scam of our era. Just be judicious. Are the likes turning into, are they turning into business? I have a builder in Cape Cod, and they were doing really well with Facebook. They were getting over 600 visits to their website a month. And, they only had 400 followers. I don't know how they're doing it, but it's really, really good. And until they fired that agency, and then it dropped to 3 or 4. I don't know what they were cooking the book with, but it didn't work. It was not real. And that's one of the problems with digital marketing today, no matter who you do business with. But the truth is your future is based on technology because it's the driver beyond awareness and relevance. There are almost 10,000 satellites flying above us today. I'm really lucky. I live in South Florida, 100 miles south of Cape Kennedy, and we watch the satellites go up a couple times a month. It's really beautiful to see. But every month, they're putting out another 20, 30, 40 satellites. It's just extraordinarily impressive. But they all watch us, and we see it when we use Uber, Lyft, Sirius, AccuWeather, any of the hundreds and thousands of apps. And you know why apps are free most of the time? Because they get paid by the digital marketing companies to run their ads through it. So one of the things we can do is you can follow, for example, you want to find everybody who flies X jet company, NetJets, Sentient, FlexJet, the list goes on. They all have apps on their phone because that's how they order their things. Now, sometimes it's their personal assistant, but most of the time they have it too for personal reasons. Today, satellites can follow that app on their phone, and then you can target them directly. And now you're hitting people that if the aviation companies are right, 50 to 90 million and above. So you can reach these individuals. Target apps on their phone. And this works for country clubs. It works for cars. It doesn't work for Bugatti. Bugatti doesn't have an app. But you can target country clubs. Country clubs have apps. That's how people make tee-off times and dinner reservations on their app. Gee, thank you. It allows us to find you. And you can also overlay any campaign with X million dollars. So you want a $1 million, a $3 million, a $5 million, a $10 million net worth, you can target them. Anybody from Yellowstone Club out west? Where we target Yellowstone Club in the east because we want people who have a home there but don't necessarily live there. Because again, we know Bill Gates has a home there. Extraordinary individuals live there. So you can find ways to target about anybody with wealth. If someone who's going to Davos, we can target Davos as an app. See, digital marketing is the most targeted and effective tool ever to reach high net worth individuals. And the key to your success is to be the predator, not prey. Because there's 20 million affluent prospects waiting to be served by you. Okay, who's still on the island? Stand up. We will have a winner now. Okay. What is the most popular animal for ultra high net worth individuals? How many of you think it's birds? Do I see a hand? No, it's not. Sport fishing is really big with the affluent. Have sport fishing yachts. They like that. How many of you think it's fish? Nobody. Okay. Cats. How many of you think ultra high net worth individuals like cats? Nobody. Okay. Is it dogs or horses? Is this Family Feud? Come on. Raise your hand if you, I'm not sure if I heard horses or dogs more. If you think it's horses, raise your hand if you think it's horses. I see one, you are the winners. It is in fact horses. Go ahead and sit down. Thank you. Whoops, go back. It's at 39%. And by the way, who else can afford a horse, right? High net worth individuals. If you go to a polo event, and they're very close to us in West Palm, the richest people aren't necessarily the people who go to see it. It's the people riding the horses because it's their hobby, it's their life. So this is the numbers. Go at them, adopt the pillars of luxury, think bigger, move faster, and market more aggressively, and you will penetrate this market. I promise you. Thank you. If you'd like a copy of the presentation, please give me your card and I'll make sure I get it to you. Thank you all for being here. Have a great show.